Good evening, it's Monday, the 20th of October, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Border truce. Pakistan and Afghanistan announce immediate ceasefire deal. Conflict escalation. Israel carries out strikes on Gaza after Hamas attacks. Student solidarity. Over 100 students rally in support of bullied teen.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Selina Jayathilaka.
Good evening once again. Pakistan and Afghanistan have agreed to an immediate ceasefire following intense border clashes, marking the most severe violence between the two nations since the Taliban's 2021 takeover of Kabul. Mediated by Qatar and Turkey in Doha, the agreement paves the way for further talks in Istanbul on the 25th of October.
Afghanistan and Pakistan said on Sunday they have agreed to an immediate ceasefire during talks in Doha. That's after a week of fierce border clashes, the worst violence between the South Asian neighbours since the Taliban seized power in Kabul in 2021. Pakistan's defence minister said on X the ceasefire, quote, has been finalised, and that both sides would meet again on October the 25th in Istanbul to discuss, quote, detailed matters. A Taliban spokesperson said in a statement the parties agreed on a complete and meaningful ceasefire. Afghanistan's defence chief was seen being welcomed to Doha ahead of Saturday's talks, with Qatar's foreign ministry acting as mediator along with Turkey. Pakistan and Afghanistan are seeking a way forward after the clashes killed dozens and wounded hundreds. The conflict was triggered after Islamabad demanded that Kabul rein in militants who had stepped up attacks in Pakistan, saying they operated from havens in Afghanistan. The Taliban denies giving havens to militants to attack Pakistan. It accuses the Pakistani military of spreading misinformation about Afghanistan and sheltering Islamic State-linked militants to undermine its stability and sovereignty. Islamabad denies the accusations. Militants have been waging a war for years against the Pakistani state in a bid to overthrow the government and replace it with their strict brand of Islamic governance. On Friday, a suicide attack near the border killed 7 Pakistani soldiers and wounded 13, security officials said. The Taliban spokesperson said that at the Doha talks, quote, it was decided that neither country will take hostile action against the other.
In a sweeping anti-corruption purge, China has expelled 9 senior officials, including General He Weidong, the country's number 2 general and vice chair of the Central Military Commission, from both the Communist Party and the military, accusing them of serious misconduct involving large sums of money.
From China's Central Military Commission to its Army and Navy, no branch of the military was spared. On Friday, 9 senior military officials were ousted from the country's Communist Party on charges of corruption. China's defense ministry emphasized the gravity of the offenses, but did not share the details of the alleged crimes.
The offenses were of grave nature with extremely harmful consequences.
Anti-corruption purges had become a signature of President Xi Jinping since he came to power in 2012. But this is one of his most far-reaching, ousting top general He Weidong. He was the number 2 ranked official in the Chinese military, after President Xi. He was also a member of the country's Politburo, making him the first serving member of the government body to be investigated. The military leader had not been seen in public since March, leading many to speculate that there was an investigation against him. This latest wave of expulsions comes just days ahead of the party's Central Committee meeting. They free up 8 spots on the powerful committee. Experts say that crackdowns like this one are used to enforce loyalty to the president and gain a tighter control of the military. It's an important prospect for President Xi as tensions flare between the U.S. and China over Taiwan. The Chinese leader is set to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump later this month.
Earlier today at Hong Kong International Airport, a cargo aircraft landing from Dubai skidded off the north runway, collided with a patrol vehicle and plunged into the sea, killing 2 airport ground staff. The 4-member crew aboard the freighter escaped unhurt, and investigations into the cause have now been launched.
2 Hong Kong airport security workers died after a Boeing 747 cargo plane skidded off the runway, hit their patrol car, and pushed it into the sea. That is according to the city's airport operator on Monday. The crash happened around 3:50 a.m. local time. The airport security staff were not breathing when rescued from the water. One was declared dead at the scene, and the other died later in hospital, according to Stephen Yu, the airport's executive director of operations. He added that authorities are investigating the cause, looking at weather, runway conditions, the aircraft, and the crew. Yu also said flights at Hong Kong's airport have not been affected. Emirates, the Dubai-based airline, said the crash at the world's busiest cargo airport involved an ACT Airlines plane operating on its behalf. There was no cargo on board. All 4 crew members of the plane escaped safely. This was Hong Kong's deadliest airport accident since the 1999 China Airlines crash that killed 3 people. Boeing did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
South Korean negotiators have returned from Washington citing progress in critical trade talks with the United States ahead of President Donald Trump's expected visit for APEC 2025 in Seoul. While specifics remain undisclosed, discussions included a proposed $350 billion investment plan and potential currency arrangements as major corporate leaders closely monitor developments.
Negotiations between South Korea and the U.S. may have seen some progress following trade talks in Washington. Upon arrival back in Korea on Sunday, Presidential Chief of Policy Kim Yong-bum stated that some progress had been made on most key issues, though some still need coordination.
The possibility of reaching a final agreement before the APEC 2025 Korea has increased through the visit.
No specific details were provided on the breakdown of the $350 billion investment in the U.S., such as the payment method or a potential currency swap agreement. Kim did, however, note that the U.S. is fully aware of the impact that the investment would bring to Seoul's foreign exchange market. The U.S. had previously demanded a full upfront payment of the $350 billion investment, whereas Korea had proposed an extended investment period of around 10 years or an increase in loan payments instead. Neighboring Japan is to be investing funds per individual project rather than a lump sum upfront payment. Meanwhile, amid ongoing trade talks, South Korea's key business leaders, including Chairman of Samsung Electronics Lee Jae-yong, Chairman of SK Group Chae Tae-won, and Chairman of Hyundai Motor Group Chung Hee-sun, gathered for a golf meeting with President Trump alongside business figures from Japan and Taiwan. Though details of the golf meeting haven't been specified, there's speculation on whether the leading figures from South Korea's chip, automobile, and battery discussed investments in the U.S.
Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has landed in Washington, D.C. ahead of a crucial meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. The visit is expected to focus on defense cooperation, Indo-Pacific security and trade relations, as both nations look to reinforce their strategic partnership amid global geopolitical tensions.
Touchdown in Donald Trump's town. Anthony Albanese back on U.S. soil, greeted by an old colleague before a meeting with a new counterpart. Despite arriving in the dark, there is light in the AUKUS nuclear submarine pact. Sources on both sides of the Pacific say a deal has been done for the program to continue, with an announcement expected in the Oval Office tomorrow. The president today speaking on the brewing battle between Beijing and Washington.
We'll see what happens with China. They ripped off our country for years.
The latest complaint, restrictions on critical minerals and processing, a void Australia is hoping to fill as a trade war looms between our largest trading partner and largest defence partner, with tariffs upped to 157%.
It's not sustainable, but that's what the number is. It's probably not, it could stand, but they forced me to do that.
In June, the president missed a meeting to fly home before the bombing of Iran. Tonight, the fragile peace in the Middle East threatens to overshadow this gathering as the US weighs up the next step.
Could be Israel with our backing. We won't have boots on the ground. There's no reason.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. Today, Gaza was struck by air raids from Israel after the military said its forces were attacked by Hamas militants, marking a serious breach of the fragile US-brokered truce. This then begs the question, can this war ever really end, or will it be a perpetual cycle of suffering?
Palestinians were rushed to a hospital in Gaza's Deir al-Balah on Sunday after Israel launched a series of deadly strikes in the enclave, shaking an already fragile ceasefire. The Israeli military said some strikes targeted militants in the southern area of Rafah who had launched an anti-tank missile and fired on its soldiers, killing at least 2 of them. In a statement, the armed wing of Hamas said it remained committed to the ceasefire agreement in all of Gaza, adding that it was unaware of clashes in Rafah and that it had not been in contact with groups there since March. The new ceasefire took effect on October 10th, halting 2 years of war, though the Israeli government and Hamas have been accusing each other of violations of the ceasefire for days. But Sunday's flare-up was the most serious test yet to the ceasefire agreement. While bulldozers were used to search for bodies of Israeli hostages in Han Yunis, hundreds of people gathered in Jerusalem Sunday to pay their respects to Uriel Baruch, an Israeli hostage whose body was returned to Israel. Israel says Hamas, which had released all 20 remaining living hostages it had been holding since the October 7th attack, is being too slow in handing over bodies of deceased hostages. On Saturday, Israel said that the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt, a key channel for humanitarian aid to flow into the enclave, would remain closed. It said that the reopening would depend on Hamas fulfilling its obligations under the ceasefire.
Mediterranean EU leaders are gathering in Slovenia for the Med9 summit focusing on climate resilience, migration policy and regional economic stability. The meeting brings together southern European nations to coordinate their stance ahead of broader EU discussions, reinforcing unity on key challenges impacting the Mediterranean region.
The Med9 group includes France, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Cyprus, Malta, Croatia and Slovenia as the host nation. Leaders are expected to address pressing issues such as extreme weather events, wildfire prevention, and shared maritime responsibilities, all critical concerns for Mediterranean countries facing rising environmental risks. Migration management will be a central topic as frontline states seek a fairer distribution of responsibility across the EU. Discussions may include reforms to the EU Migration Pact, humanitarian corridors, and strengthened border control, especially amid growing geopolitical tensions in nearby regions. Economic recovery and energy security will also feature prominently on the agenda, with inflation pressures and energy market instability persisting. The Med9 aims to push for coordinated EU action on renewable investment, infrastructure funding and fiscal flexibility to support southern member states' long-term recovery and competitiveness.
Bolivia has elected center-right Senator Rodrigo Paz as president, marking the end of 2 decades of socialist governance. Paz secured 54.6% of the vote against former interim leader Jorge Tuto Quiroga. The nation now faces the urgent challenge of stabilizing a struggling economy amid calls for reform and national unity.
With Sunday's election, 2 decades of socialist electoral dominance was always going to be brought to an end. The question was by which of the pro-business candidates? Rodrigo Paz scored victory with a comfortable margin to beat out his rival Jorge Quiroga. The son of a former president, his vow during the campaign was capitalism for all, a marked change from the political views of the previous 2 decades.
From this victory, we extend our hand to govern with all men and women who love the homeland. This is not an ideological issue, because Bolivians know ideology doesn't feed us. What feeds us is the right to work, strong institutions, the rule of law, respect for private property, and having certainty about our future.
Rodrigo Paz aims to get the country out of crisis through decentralisation, lower taxes and fiscal discipline. And some voters are hungry for change.
I ask God to protect our country so that tomorrow we can really see another future and wake up to something different. My children were born and raised with a single government, so I hope they can see a change and see that there are other possibilities and alternatives.
Governing is likely going to be difficult. The newly elected president won't have a majority in Congress, and the population, fed up with ongoing crisis, will be wanting to see positive change delivered fast.
In a meticulously planned daylight heist, thieves infiltrated Paris's Louvre Museum yesterday, stealing 8 priceless jewels from the Apollo Gallery. Using a crane to breach a window, the unarmed culprits executed the operation in under 7 minutes before fleeing on motorbikes. The Regent diamond remained untouched.
Thieves broke into France's Louvre Museum and stole priceless jewelry on Sunday from a section that houses the French crown jewels. That's according to the French government, who say the thieves pulled up outside the Louvre on Sunday morning, used a crane to smash an upstairs window, and then escaped by motorbike. Authorities have yet to say what pieces were stolen. France's culture minister Rachida Dati told TV network TF1 it all took only around 4 minutes.
We have to say that these are professionals. Organized crime today targets objects of art, and museums, of course, have become targets. Because France, as you know, is a country of heritage, a country with historical objects of heritage with great value.
A video shot by a museum guide showed visitors filing to the exits, seemingly unaware of the heist. Dati said no injuries were reported and that one piece of jewelry had been found outside the museum. Newspaper Le Parisien said it was believed to be the crown of Napoleon III's wife, Empress Eugenie, and that it was broken. France's interior minister said a specialized police unit that has a high success rate in cracking high-profile robberies has been tasked with investigating the heist. The theft is likely to raise some awkward questions about security at the museum. Earlier this year, the Louvre, which is the world's most visited museum, requested urgent help from the French government to renovate its aging halls and protect its art. The Louvre is home to the Mona Lisa, itself the target of a daring heist in 1911. That involved a former employee who was eventually caught, with the painting returned 2 years later.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. In a powerful display of unity, over 100 students rallied around a peer who had been subjected to bullying. The heartfelt support underscores a growing movement against school harassment, highlighting the importance of compassion and collective action in fostering inclusive educational environments.
And on Long Island, New York, a ride to remember.
Oh my God, look how many people!
More than 100 teen riders showing up to support 15-year-old Tyler Roche Tilden after he was bullied and needed an extra boost of kindness.
New York, Long Island, be exact. Oh, that's a fact, y'all already know.
That's when Darnell Myers, a longtime rider with an online following, brought him all these new friends. And get this, he also worked with a bike store to give Tyler a new one.
How you feel about your bike?
Very good. Getting used to it.
For his mom, Gina Moscato, that moment meant the world.
It just felt like I was in a dream or in like a movie. Like, this stuff doesn't happen in everyday life. To see him smiling and excited and so happy in the moment, it was amazing.
A reminder that kindness can go a long way.
It might not be easy to do the right thing and be kind, but you can do it and it's worth it. It's a real superpower.
After enduring the devastation of the Palisades fire, the Palisades High School football team has made a remarkable comeback. On September 5th of 2025, they hosted their first home game at Santa Monica College's Corsair Field, defeating Granada Hills Charter 59-44. This victory symbolizes their resilience and unity.
This season at Palisades Charter High School, these football players have been showing their grit on the field and off.
Actually, Mike, you be right here.
The Dolphins pushing through a year that's been anything but ordinary.
We got to have unwavering faith in each other.
The Palisades fire ripping through their community earlier this year, burning down part of their school and destroying the place they called home. The team not sure if they'd even have a season. But they got creative, traveling to different practice fields across L.A. Senior Matias Hernandez lost his house in the fire. For Matias's mom, Tracy Mestras, this season has been inspiring and healing. And at the end of the fourth quarter,
are you ready?
The Dolphins coming out victorious. Not just this game, but every game. So far, they're undefeated. Beating the odds and moving forward together.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Selena Jaitalaka, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of celebrations across nations for the festival of Diwali. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076 805 7933. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.